What it do, everybody? It's your boy E2 Blue coming back at you again for yet another video. How's everybody doing today on this Thursday? It's the day after the start of free agency, and again, acquisition after acquisition is happening. Players are still getting traded, and Cowboys are losing players, but we're not getting any. Now, I know y'all probably heard the reports by now that about the Earl Thomas trying to be traded to the Cowboys. But like I said in the last video, Seattle wants a first round pick. Hell no. To the no, no, no. We're not getting no first round pick. We're not giving up no first round pick. Now, I saw another report that said they wanted a first and a third. Again, no. No to that one too. Now, I'll give up a third and maybe a player that we technically don't need. I mean, we could trade Scandrick since he wants to leave anyway. I mean, he'll be a what, $2.2 million cap hit. But if we trade him, we can just make it all go away magically. It's like Lucky Charms, magically delicious. Yeah, because we don't want the players on this team that don't want to be here, first of all. Because it sets a bad presence on the younger players. You got a veteran cornerback saying, hey, I don't want to be here anymore. Now, if the Cowboys were just to be like, okay, get rid of them, let them go, then other players that don't want to be here too will probably be thinking the same thing. Well, hell, if it was that easy to leave and get released at a time like this where I can get picked up by another team, let me roll out too. Because all of a sudden, I'm not happy either. So it's good that they're holding on to him right now. Make that a post-June 1 cut. Get a little bit of money back from him, because you don't want him to go for nothing. You know what I mean? Like, he's been with the team for 10 years, and like I said, he wasn't a bad player, but he was just injury prone, and he just, especially towards the end of his career, like he just couldn't stay on the field. I mean, it was just one thing after another. And then he's grouchy as hell too. So you can never gauge Orlando Scandrick. Like I said, he's a smart player. He's a very good slot corner, but we can replace that. That's not a worry of mine. But what I really wanted to get into, I wanted to talk a little bit more, because I haven't talked about drafted players because there's been so much news going on with free agency. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit and get back into this whole draft talk just for a second. So if you remember from the Combine and the Senior Bowl, well, all teams do this. They have a certain amount of players that they bring to their facility to talk to, and at the Combine they talk to, and at the Senior Bowl. Now, I'm just going to go over a couple of players on this list that I have here of players that the Cowboys have met with or have had thoughts of, even if they had a simple conversation, if it was off camera. These are players that they spoke to in either the Combine or the Senior Bowl. Now, it's a lot of wide receivers on this list, which I'm actually shocked about. Not really, because the whole Dez thing. It's a lot of y'all out there that don't want Dez on this team, but the fact of the matter is we still need Dez on this team, because there's no rookie. Like I said before, there's no rookie gonna come in here and take that #1 spot right off the bat. Because again, wide receiver is one of the hardest positions to transition smoothly from the collegiate level to the pros. I mean, you're just not going to get a number. I don't care how good the person is. You're not going to get a #1 receiver out of this draft. There are some good wide receivers in this draft. There are a lot of wide receivers in this draft. Cowboys definitely will get a wide receiver out of this draft. It may not be the one you want, but they will get a wide receiver in this draft. That's why it's important for Dez to still be here. Give him another year, figure some things out with him and Dak. Because again, a lot of those plays were not Dez's fault, and they weren't always necessarily Dak's fault. Yes, Dak missed on a couple of things, but a lot of it is scheme. I can go as far as to say that it still wasn't Dak's team last year. Even though Tony Romo has been gone, it still wasn't Dak's team because we were still playing in the shadows of Tony Romo and the way that Tony Romo played. And now that we have a young mobile quarterback, it has a change to his skill set. Now, with that being said, let's get back to this list. All right, so you guys all know this guy, Christian Kirk. I know a lot of you guys were wanting Christian Kirk, Texas A&M wide receiver. He was one of the guys that was on this list. Deion Kane, wide receiver out of Clemson. Cowboys spoke with him for a nice little chunk of time. Now, he's probably projected maybe second, third round. He seems like more of a guy that I think that they will go for. I spit his stats out before, so I'm not going to go over that again. I like this next one. I like him. Michael Gesicki, tight end out of Penn State. Matter of fact, all these wide receivers, all these tight ends I'm about to name, every single one of them gave high praise to Jason Witten. Oh, I would love to be the number 2 tight end in Dallas behind Jason Witten. Just to pick his brain, and he's a future Hall of Famer, blase. He does things the right way. I will learn so much and pick his brain and just get ideas on how to be a better tight end myself. Now, with that being said, here's a list of tight ends. So you got Mike Gesicki, tight end out of Penn State. He was one of the ones that I spoke about in my earlier videos when I did my draft prospects. Look for him. I'm going to be looking for him too because he would be a good fit for this team. A very good pass catching tight end. He could block too. Hayden Hurst, tight end from South Carolina. He actually met with our new tight ends coach, Doug Nussmeier. He met with him, and again, these new coaches are trying to, hey, we're here, we're doing our homework, we're going to be in that draft room saying, hey, let's get this guy at this round, let's get this guy. So it's good to see that these new coaches on the staff are actually going to work already and doing their due diligence and trying to draft these players and make this team better, because ultimately these are the things that we need to make this team the best that they can be, especially because we're in a situation where our division is getting stronger and stronger. And we have to stay pat. And we ain't going to be no bottom feeders. We ain't going to be no basement dwellers. You hear me? Ain't going to be no fourth in the division. It's either 1 or 2. That's it. And I mean that. So, Dallas Goedert, I guess that's how you pronounce it. South Dakota, tight end. I don't know much about him. I didn't really do any research on him. But some of these guys that I haven't looked up, I'm going to look these guys up. And then once we get closer to the draft, I'm going to do a whole mock draft. I said that I wasn't going to do one, but I think I might do it. Because I was never a fan of mock drafts because I always thought they were pointless. Because the chances of you being... Because, again, you see what's going on in free agency. Just teams getting these players and these players that they need. You don't know where they're going to pick. You don't know how the draft stock is going to change with the combine and players going up and down. And in free agency, these teams are picking these players, so you don't know where they're going to go. But one thing that I can say for sure that's going to happen in this first round, that it's going to be a lot of moving and shaking. There's going to be a lot of teams trading up. There's going to be teams trading down. And I think Cowboys is going to be one of those teams trading up. I'll get to that in a minute. DJ Moore. I know a lot of you guys like him, wide receiver out of Maryland. And, hey, I'm in Maryland right now. So I'm standing on the pole for DJ Moore right now. I think that he'd be a good fit. But if we can somehow, I don't know if he's going to be there in the second round, but we'll see. Equanimous St. Brown. That's a weird first name. I don't know what his mom was thinking, but yeah, wide receiver out of Notre Dame, St. Brown. He's one of the guys I haven't done much research on, but I'm going to look him up too. Ha, here's one that everybody wants in the first round. And this is a guy that I spoke on before. Calvin Ridley. I know y'all want Calvin Ridley. And again, Alabama is just one of those teams that they're like the Cowboys of the collegiate level. Like everybody watches them every year, whether they playing good or not. Like you're gonna get an Alabama receiver or cornerback somewhere coming out of the draft. He'd be a good fit too. I did my little draft thing on him before. If you guys saw my old videos of my draft prospects, there's another one that you guys love that I like too. Isaiah Wynn, offensive guard, Georgia. He said that he would love to join this offensive line. I'm sorry, this nasty offensive line. And I think he'd be a good fit. Because when it came to offensive guards, when I was talking to my other fellow YouTubers, Isaiah Wynn and Will Hernandez were the two guys that we spoke on. And the way this is going, with these quarterbacks probably going off the board and these high-ranking players going off the board, that guard spot might be a good pick in the first round. Because, again, you need to make sure this offensive line is solidified because you need to protect Dak Prescott. I know you saw what happened at the Falcons game. I know you remember that. It is highly important that we keep Dak upright. And some of you that keep saying, oh, I don't want an offensive lineman in the first round, fuck that. When the draft comes, if we don't move up for somebody like Roquan or Derwin James, which I wouldn't mind doing either, but if we stay at 19, these are the players that you need to get. If they're available, you pick the best available player. I don't give a damn if it's not a sexy position or a sexy pick. Get it, because it's a need. And I need y'all to open your eyes and see that. That is a need. Alright? Mike McGlinchey, offensive tackle out of Notre Dame. He's one of Zach Martin's old teammates from Notre Dame. And he sees what he's doing with the Cowboys, and he's thinking in his head like, hey, if I emulate what he's doing, I can be a great player like him. I can maybe go to the Cowboys or go to a team with a nice, good offensive line, and I can be the featured person, and I can make that money too. Hey, by all means. That's a good thing, you know, when you can model yourself after, especially somebody that you knew personally and you played with. He obviously, Zach Martin knows the formula, and he's trying to emulate that. Well, let's see what happens with that. Now, like I said, all these are just lists of people. If you guys been real Cowboy fans for years, you already know that a lot of these players that the Cowboys talk to and they meet with, and the players that actually come to the stadium to see the facilities and stuff, a lot of those guys are players that they actually do draft if they're available, because Cowboys don't waste their time on players that they don't want. There's other teams that will just talk to a player just to do it. Cowboys don't do that. They literally have legitimate interest in these guys. Nyheim Hines, running back out of NC State. He's another player that I haven't done a lot of research on, but of course, he looks at Ezekiel Elliott like, hey, he was dominant in the Big Ten. He transitioned that skill to the pros, and he's done well. And like he says, he thinks that Ezekiel Elliott is one of the best. So, again, everybody wants to be behind a great player because you want to hope that some of that stuff rubs off on you and in a positive way. Now, let's hope that all of the off-field stuff that Zeke was going through is over with. That way, we don't have to worry about that no more. We can have this dominant player, and hopefully one day he can be the rushing leader in the NFL. And I can see that happening if he stays focused. These last couple of guys, these are ones that they spoke to at the Senior Bowl primarily. Some of these guys I haven't really heard of. because they're not talked about that often. But they'll probably be like late round guys. And again, you know how Cowboys do in the late rounds. They get these players that you think that ain't gonna do well, and they end up doing well for your team because, like I reiterate every time I do a video, scheme fit matters. Sometimes you can be an average player for one team, but you can be dominant for another because the scheme fit for a player is ideal. And when you're getting these players, and that's why Will McClay is a good asset to us because player acquisition is 365 days out of the year. It is an everyday job. It's not just off season. It's not just preseason. It's not just in the middle of the season. It's all year long. You want to get better talent on your team. And if you're going to stay a team like the Patriots, that's what they do. They get them, dump them, draft again, trade for picks. That's the winning formula. And of course, a good coaching staff, which let's see what we do this year because that clock is ticking for Jason Garrett. And if we don't do well this season, adios, amigos. So, I'm sorry, I'm getting off, but you know me. I get on a tangent and I just go with it. But I just want you guys to understand where I'm coming from. So, Senior Bowl talk, guys. Later round, guys. Kylie Fitz, defensive end, 3-4 linebacker out of Utah. Dewey Jarvis, defensive end from Howard University. Now, I live in the DMV, so I'm like 30 minutes from Howard University, and Howard University has always sucked. When Howard Homecoming comes around every year, it's like so many people down there, and it's off the chain, but they never talk about the football game because they never win. But even sucky teams have standouts, so I mean, you never know what this guy can do. Darius Phillips, cornerback out of Western Michigan. Akron Wadley, running back out of Iowa. And Cedric Wilson, wide receiver out of Boise State. Now, looking at this list, what jumped off the table to me was, you see how there's a lot of wide receivers on this list. There are a lot of tight ends on this list. You got some offensive linemen. They didn't really look at defensive end until the later rounds. Now, the ones that they're not talking to are the obvious ones that are going to go into the first round. Now, that's not to say that they're not going to pick them because they damn well can. Because I'm telling you, if Vita Vea is there, they are going to pick him, period. That's just, I mean, that's a no-brainer. Because, again, these are positions of need. If you've been living under a rock and you don't know what the Cowboys need, I'm going to tell you again. Defensive tackle. We need a big, fat refrigerator, fire hydrant, bank teller, whatever, to be right there in that middle to clog up space. That way, you get David Irvin on the left side. You got DeMarcus Lawrence on the right side. Rushing the quarterback. Now, you get that perfect guy to play that middle. Sky's the limits. I'm just looking at it from a defensive standpoint because, again, these are needs. We lost Anthony Hitchens. We already knew that. I don't think they're going to re-sign Kyle Wilber. And if he doesn't go to another team, they could possibly bring him back for a small salary. But we need linebacker depth as well. Now, we can get... I feel like they're going to get a good wide receiver earlier in the draft, and then they're going to get one later to basically be a special teams person to supplement that. There's still free agency left. We can get a veteran that can play a limited number of snaps just to spell that will be good for this team too for our 4-3 scheme. So that, I mean, those are options right there. We need a safety. Now, we already talked about the whole Earl Thomas thing. Everybody's anticipating this one, but again, we ain't giving no damn first round for him. So I'm gonna keep saying that over and over again. We got a stalemate of cornerbacks right now, so we're just trying to figure that out. And I'm very high on these young guys that we have on this team, and they are going to do very well, especially with Chris Richard on our staff now. I mean, I'm excited about that, and you guys should be too as well. So, defensive tackle, linebacker, offensive guard. I already spoke on Isaiah Wynn. I already spoke on Will Hernandez. Those are two offensive linemen that I would love on this team. Now, there are other ones that they could get later, but you want somebody that can start right now, you either get one of those two guys. Oh, let's not forget about Nelson. Nelson could be a fit too. But there's another defensive end that could fit this team. Well, it's two of them. Harold Landry and Taven Bryan. Taven Bryan could definitely be a person that could get picked for this team, although he does have some qualities that wouldn't suggest him being a starter right away. But again, just like with Taco, these skills can be developed because it's very rare that a player comes and becomes an all-star day one anyway. That's why you have to have a coaching staff to get these guys to where you need them to be, to put a fire under their ass to let them know, hey, this is what you need to work on. You're good at this, but you could work on this. Like, it's all good being athletic. But if that athleticism does not transfer to the football field, then you got a bust. That's what a bust is. You draft these players, you see them jumping out of the ceiling at the combine, but then they get on your team and don't bust a grape on the field. Then now you're stuck with a player that is a bust. And we don't want that situation like we had where we had Morris Claiborne, where we moved up to get him the sixth pick in the draft, and in 4 years, he ain't do nothing. Now, I really feel bad for Claiborne because he could have been a really good player for us. And at times, he showed it. But his injury history was just took over him. And that crushed it, and it crushed his confidence. It really did. And I don't know. I heard people say that he's a free agent and they should bring him back, but I'm not interested in that unless he's hella cheap. I'm talking about like less than $1 million or $1 million. I'm not gonna pay him for more than that. And you give him a 1-year contract. You don't give him multiple years. You don't do that. People been talking about DeMarco Murray being a free agent. He ain't coming back to Dallas because DeMarco has said it before, and it ain't changed. He does not want to be no backup running back, and nobody's trumping Ezekiel Elliott right now. So he ain't gonna be no number 2. So that means he ain't gonna be no Cowboy. If the Cowboys would pick any player that was a running back that played for this team before to come back and play, it would most likely be Lance Dunbar. One, you could get him hella cheap, $900,000. You could put him on the same contract that you gave to Darren McFadden. And my dog barking. You could give him the contract that you gave Darren McFadden. $700,000, $800,000, $900,000, 1-year deal. Prove it to me. Prove me that you can stay healthy for a full season, and you got this. They use him as that scat back for trickery plays, jet sweeps. You can use him like how you use Lucky Whitehead, and that's how you do it. I would actually like to see Lance Dunbar come back. That would be a good little just insurance policy. You know what I'm saying? He could sit behind Rod Smith and Ezekiel Elliott. Now you got your 3 backs because reports say that Alfred Morris ain't coming back. So I actually like Alfred Morris, but I know there's a lot of teams that are interested in him. So I know that at some point, maybe next week, he might get scooped up by a team. Who knows? Because you got people like Doug Martin went to another team, and all these veteran running backs got cut and got signed by the team. So, and these are players that used to start, and now they're playing in backup roles. So You never know. Um, well, we lost another player, Keith Smith, our fullback. Now, he's been our special team ace, and he was really good at blocking for Zeke. And I feel like they could have used him more because for him to be a converted from a linebacker to a fullback, he could catch pretty well. And the, and I kind of wanted them to tender him, and I thought they were. And reports say that they wanted to bring him back, but Oakland came in there, scooped him up for 2 years, and I think he's getting like 4.9 million, 2-year contract. Now, you already know why he went to Oakland, because they have our old special teams coordinator, Rich Bisaccia, and Rich was probably like, "Yo, go get my man Keith Smith," and the rest is history. So I don't know if the Cowboys are going to be in store for another fullback now. I don't know if we're going to go this next season without a fullback. We could. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott can make his own holes for real, but I mean, it really depends on what Zeke prefers as far as does he want a fullback in front of him or not. But those are the two main guys that we lost as of right now, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be much more if we don't make no moves. And there's a lot of heat going on about this whole Earl Thomas stuff. So, but again, he ain't coming to Dallas. Not with what they're asking for right now, because Seattle done lost their damn mind. So, again, with that being said, thanks again for all my subscribers for subscribing from me. If you haven't subscribed, if you're seeing this, hit that subscribe button, support your boy, because it's just the beginning. It is going to be a whole lot more, and you guys will be, I promise you, I'm going to keep you guys informed, I'm going to keep you guys entertained, and that's what I do. I'm E2 Blue, signing off. Talk to y'all soon. Have a great evening.